Hey, everybody. David Swor here once again with DJ Cox for another episode of Frenemies. And DJ, it's been a little bit, but we're finally rounding third, finishing up these teams. And tonight, we got the former World Series champion, Washington Nationals. And last year, not a very good season for the Nationals, DJ. So why don't you run us through a little recap of the 2020 Washington Nationals?
Doesn't it feel like the championship was so long ago, and it really wasn't, man? It just seems like they were forever ago champions, but obviously not the case. So 2020, the Nationals were fourth in batting average, 10th in runs scored, 27th in ERA, 28th in WHIP, and their bullpen was very weak. They were 26 and 34 overall, finished in fourth place. Pitching was a problem, David, and you would have never thought that going into the season. We were counting on them to be one of their strengths last year, and it was pretty bad when you're 27th in ERA and 28th in WHIP. Straussberg did go down with an awful injury yet again that ended his season way too short. Only got 2 starts in. Ryan Zimmerman opted out, didn't play. You know, he's kind of the face of the franchise, so to speak. You know, not anymore really, but he's been there the longest tenured guy. You know, if you think of the Nationals, he comes up there pretty fast for you. They were 3-7 versus the Phillies, 4-6 versus the Marlins, and 2-4 versus the Orioles. You know, that's not very good against teams that were not good last year. Started the short season 4-8 and did not recover. They started off really slow, and in that 60-game season, it took them a while to rebound. They never did. Corbin was 2-7 with a 4.66 ERA last year. Anibal Sanchez 6.62 ERA. So the pitching didn't hold up, man. It's you know, when you've got Corbin and Strasburg pretty much out and you're relying on Scherzer, they just couldn't hang, man. It was a big time bombshell on the pitching. The offense, Trey Turner and Juan Soto put up MVP numbers. They were unbelievable. This offense is still loaded. MVP type seasons. This team didn't live up to expectations after winning the World Series in 2019. 2020 was a weird season for all teams, but this just didn't feel right for the Nats at all. It really didn't. Nothing went their way. They had a shot to jump ahead of the pack playing the Orioles right out of the gate, and they lost all of those games. So they needed to rework this team coming back into 2021. And GM Mike Rizzo had some work to do, so they got onto the off season, David. So pretty rough season for them, no doubt, coming off a World Series. What'd you think?
Yeah, just amazing, honestly. You know, after looking back through this again, Soto and Turner were so awesome. Of course, you know, they had to deal with a lot of injuries, but the rest of the team, the rest of the offense, just okay. And then, like you said, the pitching was just terrible. Doolittle started out the closer. He goes down. Daniel Hudson grabs it, if that's what you want to call it, with an ERA over 6 out of your closer. Just unbelievably bad. And DJ, what do you think about our boy Dave Martinez? Now, obviously he's won a World Series, but if you'll remember, it was a pretty checkered year, the year he won the World Series. They kind of just got hot right at the end, kind of pushed through. What do you think about Dave Martinez as a manager?
Well, he's been a disciple of Madden's for a long time now, and finally got a shot, you know, and to win a World Series right away. I mean, you got to hand it to him. He did something right, and like you said, they kind of got hot and just kind of took off from there. But you got to give him credit. I think he's a good manager. I really do. I just think, you know, when one of your top arms goes down, when they had all the problems they had last year, you know, I think this is the year. It's a good point, David. Like, if they're gonna see what he's made of this year, you know, you've had your awesome season. You've had a really bad season to follow it up. Now let's see what you're made of, you know, with a team that's a little bit rebuilt. They kind of coming after it again in the tough division. So we'll see. I still think the jury's out on him, but I've always been a fan of his. But like you said, I think he kind of walked into a great scenario there for him. He took the keys to a Cadillac and just walked into a title. So I think the jury's still out on him, no doubt.
So interesting offseason. As you said, they kind of shook up the team a little bit. The team definitely has a little Cubs flavor to it, dare I say, DJ. So let's talk about the ads here a little bit. Josh Bell acquired in a trade from the Pirates after a down year. John Lester comes over from the Cubs through free agency, and we talked about this all year. They're the ones that ended up with Brad Hand. Kyle Schwarber comes over from the Cubs. Jeremy Jeffress comes over from the Cubs. Gerardo Parra comes over from the Diamondbacks. Alex Avila, who I think played for the Cubs at one point. Am I mistaken in that, DJ?
Yeah, he did. You're right.
That's what I thought. And any other ads that you can throw in there, DJ? Those are the ones I had.
Yeah, Hernan Perez also came over from the Cubs too.
Oh, wow.
Jordy Mercer from the Yankees and TJ McFarland from the A's. So, yeah, I mean, it is a Cubs flavor. And Dave Martinez, that's kind of to be had sometimes when you have an assistant coach that gets really close to these players. And, they have a say. It goes to show you they have some say to the GM on some of the guys they want on their team. And for him to go get all these Cubs is basically just, these are Martinez's guys. So he went and got them. And I think of all the guys, though, Josh Bell, man, 90 ribbies in 2017 and 116 in 2019. Big addition. They needed a bat like this to go with those big boppers in the lineup. I thought it was an awesome move. Getting him and Kyle Schwarber were 1 and 1A move, in my opinion. And, John Lester, I'm not too sure that was a great move, just kind of an innings eater guy, so to speak, which I hate, as you know. But those two guys, I think, were awesome additions. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, it looks good. I mean, for full disclosure, we're into the season. Josh Bell is struggling, just like he did last year. So I don't know. That jury's still out on that. They obviously needed to add a big bat. It looked like they added that. John Lester's looked pretty decent in both of his starts, but again, 4 and 5 inning starts. I love the pickup of Brad Hand. I'm not a Kyle Schwarber fan. He did hit a two-run Donkey Kong off the Yankees yesterday. Yankees took 2 or 3 from the Nats, so that felt pretty good. Jeremy Jeffress, we talked about that in a previous episode. He's now off the team, released. I'd love to know what's going on there. We'll probably never know. So overall, I'll give the offseason a B. Like I said, on paper, it looks like they made an upgrade there with Bell, even though it's not working out yet. So we'll see. Of the losses, DJ, so they lost Anibal Sanchez, Kurt Suzuki, Adam Eaton, Will Crow, Sean Doolittle, Michael A. Taylor, Brock Holt, Asdrubal Cabrera, and Howie Kendrick retired. So who's the biggest loss for you there?
Not really much of a loss on anybody, to be honest with you. I didn't think they felt anything. I'm just going to give my boy Howie Kendrick a little love here. Great career, 127 bombs, 724 ribbies, 15-year career, 294 average, 337 on-base percentage, 1,747 career hits. Very good career when you have that many hits. Played with the Angels from 2006 to 2014, Dodgers in 2015 and 16, Phillies in 2017, and then the Nats 2017 to 2020. 126 career stolen bases and one-time All-Star. So Howie Kendrick, really good player there. Tough to see him go. Everybody's career obviously ends, but I thought he was a real good player to watch and had a really good career there. So I'm just going to give him a love on this. What'd you think, David?
Yeah, I totally agree. I read something this past week. I can't remember which players with regards to, but DJ, if a player makes it a decade, he is less than 10% of the population of Major League Baseball.
Wow, that's a great stat.
Yeah, big deal. So the fact that Howie Kendrick stuck around, some of his best years were these last couple years. I hated to see him go. I think a couple other players that are going to hurt a little bit. Asdrubal Cabrera, underrated, can play a lot of different positions. I think that's going to hurt a little bit. And I think Kurt Suzuki is going to hurt a little bit, man. He was a good catcher. I can't remember who picked him up. Maybe the Angels.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I think that could hurt a little bit. Again, overall, I don't know, man. I think it was pretty sideways. Just a pretty even offseason. I'm like I said, I'm gonna put them up maybe to a B with the Josh Bell ad as long as that pans out. But they didn't do a huge amount to improve themselves. And they're in a tough division. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm not sure they did enough to move the needle much. So let's talk about the rotation and the lineup this year for the Nationals. DJ, what do you got?
Let's go with the lineup first. Victor Robles, center fielder, 3 bombs, 15 ribbies, 220 batting average, 293 on base. Juan Soto, MVP every year, caliber player, right field, 13 bombs, 37 ribbies, hit 351, 490 on base, 695 slugging, and a 1.185 OPS. Dominant season from Soto last year. Trey Turner, shortstop, 12 bombs, 41 ribbies, 335, 394, 588, 982. Unbelievable season from him as well. Josh Bell with the Pirates, 8 bombs, 22 ribbies, 226 average, 305 on base. Schwarbaum in left field, 11 bombs, 24 ribbies, 188 batting average, 308 on base percentage. Love that batting average, don't you, David? Starlin Castro, I knew you were going to say something about that. Second baseman, your boy Starlin Castro. 2 bombs, 4 ribbies, 267, 302 in limited action last year. Jan Gomes is your catcher, 4 bombs, 13 ribbies, 284, 319. And Carter Keyboom, third baseman, 0 bombs, 9 ribbies, 202, 344 on the bench. You got Alex Avila, Ryan Zimmerman, Josh Harrison, Gerardo Parra, and Andrew Stevenson. So, David, what do you think of the lineup?
Well, first of all, they're going to make a remake of the movie Mr. 3000, and it's going to be about Starlin Castro, DJ. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's going to be so awesome to see a stats accumulator someday make it to the Hall of Fame and blow your mind. I'm going to be so proud. But overall, I like this lineup. I mean, how could you not like a lineup with Soto and Trey Turner in it? Josh Bell and Schwarber got to step it up, man. And, for full disclosure, again, we're into the season. The big surprise of this season in the lineup has been Josh Harrison. Currently, I think he's hitting about 320. Again, they just played the Yankees this weekend. I got to watch pretty much the whole thing. They got Castro over at third and Harrison at second. And so, overall, good lineup. Not the deepest lineup in their division, that's for sure. The Braves, are definitely better in the lineup department. The Phillies are definitely better in the lineup department. I thought the Mets were going to be better in the lineup department, but that hasn't really materialized yet. But overall, I'd say it's an above-average lineup. What would have really looked good in that lineup? There's a guy that's in Chicago that plays third base. That would have looked good at third base in that lineup, and then they could have played Castro at second. What do you think about that, DJ? It was rumored all winter. That's the only thing that they were missing.
Carter Keyboom was actually the guy they were talking about bringing back from the Nationals, and he's not even playing anymore, so why don't you just bring him on over? We'll take him. Davey Martinez. Send him over. We'll give you one of our bench guys. I don't know.
It's time, man. It's time. We're about a month out, but it's coming.
No.
So, DJ, we talked about it before. The pitching was rough last year. What do you got for the rotation this year?
Scherzer is your ace at 5-4 last year with a 3.74 ERA, 92 Ks and 67 innings pitched. ERA was a little high for him, not going to lie. That's not a Scherzer-like year. ERA-wise, looking to bounce back this year. Straussberg was 0-1 with a 10.80 ERA, 2 Ks and 5 innings pitched, blew his arm out again. Very unfortunate. Patrick Corbin was terrible. Two wins, 7 losses, 4.66 ERA, 60 Ks, 65 innings pitched. John Lester for the Cubs, 3-3, 5.16 ERA, 42 Ks and 61 innings pitched. And Joe Ross rounds it out, and he did not pitch last year, was opted out as well. Brad Hand is your closer, and then you got Daniel Hudson, Will Harris, Austin Voth, Eric Fettel in the bullpen there. So, David, what do you think of this rotation? A very top-heavy rotation, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on the rotation, first of all, and then going to Strasburg a little bit? Think he's anything left in the tank with him?
I was going to ask you the question. So is Straussberg out for the year?
I don't think so. I think he's going to come back at some point. But it's just one thing after another with him, man. It's tough to see. It really is. And I don't know, man. If you don't have Strasburg in this lineup, in this rotation, you lose a lot for me. I mean, you really do. I mean, I looked at this team on paper before the whole thing happened, and it looked great. Now all of a sudden, I don't know, man. It changes everything. It really does. So interesting to see what happens with him.
Well, I'm a believer in Pat Corbin. I think he's going to turn around. I haven't even looked at his stats. I had him on my fantasy team last year, so last year it sucked for sure. But I'm a believer in him. Big, high strikeout guy, which means he's got swing and miss stuff, and so I think he'll turn it around. I like Scherzer, but he's getting pretty long in the tooth, DJ. I hate to say that. I believe he's a free agent after this year, and that contract's been one of the best free agent contracts ever signed. I mean, at the time, it sounded crazy. I think they paid him $210 million, I think. He's delivered. They were talking about it on one of the Yankee broadcasts over the weekend. Almost every year he's been with the Nationals, he's been in the top 5 in Cy Young votes almost every year, and he's won a couple, I think. So, I just think that he's kind of probably running out of gas. The rest of that rotation, in my opinion, is terrible. Lester has been a great pitcher in the past. I just think he's out of gas. Joe Ross has actually looked pretty good so far this year, but again, not much track record there. And Fetty, he's just a young pitcher. So a long way from a playoff rotation, DJ. And it's kind of sad. The Nats, they won that World Series a little bit out of nowhere, and it just looks like the last couple of years they're just going to be an average team. So we'll see. So, DJ, you got any position battles to talk about?
Yeah, so the position battle I have is the fifth starter with Joe Ross. I think he already won it. Austin Voth, Eric Fetty, those guys have been long-time prospects. They'll all compete for spots. I think they'll all get chances here. Ross has been given the keys, but if he struggles, these guys could walk in and take over, like Lester as well, I think, too, like you're talking about. Fetty and Voth both started last year and didn't help their cause, going 4.29 ERA and 6.34 respectively. And David, am I mistaken? I think I saw Will Crow. Did he get taken to the Pirates, right?
Yeah, he went in the Josh Bell trade.
Yeah, so I had Will Crow as a possibility in that rotation as well, but he's gone. And I saw him pitch the other day for the Pirates, so it completely talked. I was talking big on him, and he pitched good against Cubs the other day. So I was kind of thinking that he was going to be a part of the Nats' future. He no longer is. So between these three guys, I think that the battle is up for the fifth spot and maybe the fourth spot with Lester. So what do you think, David?
Yeah, so I had second base. You have Josh Harrison, who, like I said, seemingly has won the job. You have Jordy Mercer, Luis Garcia, and then if Keyboom played, you had Starlin Castro, to think about. So Keyboom is in the minors right now, and Harrison's kind of won that spot. But again, if you're looking at those choices, two of those three guys are in the Yankees organization, basically AAA type players. Not good choices. Like I said, Harrison's having a great season, so he's proven me wrong. But between those three guys, that's the guy I would have picked to win if Keyboom wasn't up and Castro over there. So we'll see how it plays out, though. It's a long season. We're still just in early May. A lot of things can happen. A lot of things can happen in that rotation. So let's talk, DJ, about the farm system a little bit. It's kind of a good way to transition into that farm system. So last in the league, DJ, not a good place to be, according to several of the websites that rate these the farm systems. They're number 30. Who do you have for a prospect that might be able to help them this year?
Man, I totally messed this up with Will Crow. I know he's gone now to the Pirates, so I really messed that up. I completely baffled on that one, bombed out a little bit there. So I don't have one as far as he goes, but they did get rid of him in the Josh Bell trade. I missed that. I thought he was a good prospect for them to come up and patch up this rotation a little bit. He's no longer here. He's actually starting now for the Pirates. I think he's going to be a pretty good player in the show. I'll just talk about him a little bit since I had him, since he is on the Pirates, but that's okay. He struggled a little bit in 2020 with the Nats, going 0-2 with 11.88 ERA. Got roughed up a little bit in his debut as well. But he's not he wasn't projected to make the rotation with the Nationals, so I think that made him more expendable to go in the Bell trade. And they had to give up something to get Bell back. So he's a K pitcher. He throws 92 to 93 with a nasty slider and changeup. So he's pretty good. I really think that he could have helped them this year, but he's no longer there. So David, what did you have?
I had a as well. Their 2019 first round pick, Jackson Rutledge, 6'8".
Oh yeah.
95 pounds, mid-90s fastball with a good slider. They say if he could develop that changeup and have a little bit better control, he could be a top of the rotation starter, which again is important. Last in the majors, or one of the last in the majors last year in ERA. So maybe somebody, I don't know if he's going to help this year. It didn't say where he was going to start. I'm assuming if he's 2019 first round pick, he's probably AA somewhere in there. So maybe somebody that could help this year, but definitely somebody to look in the future. So had you heard of Jackson Rutledge, DJ?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a good one there, man. He's definitely been one of those prospects up and coming, no doubt. I've heard of a ton of him and a lot of good things about him. So there's a few guys there that can help, but as a whole, the farm system, ouch.
Now look down the top 30 list. All those guys have ETA like 2023. So they're definitely in full rebuild mode in the farm system. So it's going to be a little bit, but we'll see if they can remain competitive, man. I keep looking over there in that NL West, DJ, and looking at the Giants, who have a horrible farm system and on paper should be terrible and have, we agree, the worst manager in the league. And yet they're still in like first place. I don't get it. So maybe that's the Nationals down the line. Maybe they can just hang in there long enough to rebuild. We'll see. So, DJ, favorite memory of the Washington Nationals?
My memory of this franchise is all the Expos, man. It really is. That cool logo, and I love that thing. I want a hat. Watching Hall of Famers like Vladdy Guerrero, Tim Raines, yeah, buddy. Andre Dawson, Gary Carter. The Expos even had Pete Rose play for them for a few seasons there, David. Randy Johnson, your boy Pedro Martinez. He was on the team as well. The Expos field was an absolute joke. What a terrible field to play baseball on. Andre Dawson probably could have played for the Cubs for 100 years if he not played with the Expos first and tore his knees up. But, man, this kind of brings me back to an interesting point. And I kind of argue this all the time. Like, the whole Expos and Nationals being a franchise thing together just doesn't make sense to me. They left the city. They changed names. They're not even the same franchise anymore. So why do the Expos hit leader the same as the Nationals hit leader? I don't get it. I think it's really weird. Especially, it's one thing I think I don't even know if you change cities. I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, it's over, right? I mean, you got to stop them. But if another team like eventually comes back to that city, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to figure this whole thing out. And I really don't like the fact that, Ryan Zimmerman's probably the all-time hit leader for the Expos. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It's tough. I don't really know what the solution is, but it just seems weird that they all go together like that. But all my memories of the Expos. What do you got, David?
Well, I actually went with the World Series a couple years ago. I'm like you. I thought back through the Expos and the Expos. We were growing up. They had like 2 good seasons or something. Yeah. Maybe a few more than that. And I'm like you. I love the logo. I'm like you. I got to get me a hat or a jersey or something. But I'm going to go with that World Series 2 years ago. That was a great World Series to watch. They were up 2-0, then lost 3 straight to the Astros. Looked like they were going home. Howie Kendrick hits a 2-run home run to put them ahead in Game 3, and of course in Game 6, and in Game 7 they put it away and won. So that's probably going to be my favorite memory. Right up there, close to that, is the time I visited the National Stadium. To be honest with you, DJ, I got to go with our good buddy, colleague Matt Kearns. What a crazy trip! I'll just let you talk about that for just a second. We actually went down for James Edens' wedding. I don't know if you remember him from Tennessee Temple.
Oh, yeah.
One thing we figured out, so the wedding was on Saturday night. Sunday morning, we go down to the National Mall or whatever you want to call it, the Capitol. And, dude, it was a ghost town. It was the weirdest thing. I guess we went down there on a Sunday morning. I'm talking nobody down there. We pretty much parked as close as the Capitol as you could get, walked around a little bit, so that was cool. And then we drove over to the stadium. And, DJ, this will transition us right into the stadium a little bit. What a weird place to put a stadium. The strangest, and I'm sure it's going to like that stadium is going to develop around it, but we pretty much drove through the ghetto, scared to death for our life. And then, we're listening to Siri or whoever, MapQuest, whatever was the big thing back then. It's like turn on the street and you turn basically into a concrete company. It's the oddest thing. I mean, obviously there's the stadium. It's beautiful. I mean, it's a cool stadium and all. But DJ, do you agree? Like the weirdest stadium placement that I can think of. What do you think?
I can't agree with you more. I thought the whole experience was bad, to be honest with you. It was one of the worst ones, I think, by far that I've been to. Yeah. I just don't think it has any character whatsoever. It's just in a weird spot, like you said. It's just all of a sudden it's like
it's a temporary stadium. It's like they just stuck something up there because they couldn't find a place. In the stadium, like you said, man, you hit the nail on the head. It's the blandest.
Yeah.
I mean, every ballpark is pretty in its own way. You know what I mean? There's just something
Yep.
about a baseball field, the green grass, all that good stuff. But it is just the driest, most bland stadium.
Yep.
Parking's weird.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's basically in probably one of the worst areas of town
Yeah.
to get to it that you can think of. But I'm with you, man. It just not. We had a great time. That whole
I did
trip
too.
was
Yeah.
hilarious. I could go on about that trip that we had forever. That's what made that so cool. But yeah, the stadium was just weird. I'm totally with you. And I'm thinking like across the street on the other side, there's actually like a mall or something, but you don't come in that way.
Nope.
You come in behind it or something. So anyway, maybe that'll grow up around there and make it a better experience. But when you think ballpark, you think restaurants around it and just the ballpark experience. It has none of that.
Nothing.
It's literally like going to a little league baseball park in your hometown that they just stuck in the side of a hill or something. So anyway.
So true, man. It's like you get the whole experience of the Capitol building and you do the Lincoln Monument, you do the whole thing. We kicked that Washington trip's butt. And then you go into the Nationals field and you're like, what is this?
What is
like
going
you
on,
said, man, we parked and I was like scared my car wasn't going to be there when we got back. It was that bad. Like it was just tucked away in a weird spot, not even close to the stadium, it felt.
Well,
All of a sudden you're there. It's weird, man.
Both like historic teams, and this goes back to the whole, Expos move. That's part of the problem. There's no history there.
Right.
I mean, that I know of. Is there a Hall of Fame there close by that you can visit or something? Or
no.
So it definitely makes it tough to kind of get on board with. But maybe that'll change. I mean, they do have a World Series now, so maybe that kind of thing changes. So I don't know. We'll see. So DJ, let's wrap it up here, man. What do you think about the Nationals? What's your prediction?
Second place. I feel this team's loaded with talent. Second place. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. DJ, what's going on?
So I told you I am not a fan of the Mets at all. I believe.
What about the Phillies?
Win this division. The Phillies finished third. The offense is just dynamite, man. I fell in love with it when I did this thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love the top three pitchers. If Straussberg can come back and somewhat pitch healthy, that's all you really need in the playoffs is three studs. So those three are on. They're really, really tough to beat. So I'm going with that. I'm sticking to it. What do you got?
Fourth place, man. Fourth place. Yeah, I just don't see it, man. And like I said, have we been wrong about teams like this before? But they do remind me of the Giants. There's a couple things in there that you like. There's a lot in there that you don't like. I hate the back half of the rotation. We didn't go over strengths and weaknesses. This was my fault, but that's the weakness that I had is the back half of this rotation. I hate it.
Yeah.
And then in that lineup, man, I love the middle part of it. I think the back half of it's pretty sorry, just to be honest with you. And if Josh Bell doesn't hit, it's super sorry. So I'm just going to say fourth place. I think the Mets, Phillies, and Braves are all better. We've got a lot to talk about in one of these future shows with everything that's gone on with the Mets, McNeil and Lindor.
Yeah.
We've just got a lot to talk about there. But I'm going with fourth place. They're going to miss the playoffs by a mile. Last I looked, I think they're 13-17 right now. So as usual, I'm right. So in your face, DJ.
Well, they are making the playoffs, and they're going to make the wild card and lose that wild card round. So I do have them in the playoffs in 2021, buddy. I know you love hearing that.
Let's National League playoff team. So you have the Braves, the Dodgers, the Padres,
Nationals, Cubs.
Man.
Who else am I missing? I think I'm missing one more.
Nationals, Cubs.
6 of them, right? So, yeah, I've got the Nats, Padres, Dodgers, Cubs, and Braves. So, got those 5. You get the 3 division winners and the 2 wild cards. So,
2 of those teams won't be there. I'll let you guess. So, DJ, trivia time right here. Who threw the first pitch for the Washington Nationals in their history?
Whoa. Going back to the Expos days?
No. The Nationals franchise.
As a national team. Okay. Who threw the first pitch for them?
One of my favorite pitchers of all time. Well, He's up there. I'm not gonna say he's one of my favorite of all time. I've always liked this guy.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's
Man, man.
true pitcher.
That's a tough one. Holy cow.
I thought you were going to get this.
Man.
He had about an 85-mile-an-hour fastball, but he threw it probably 12 different ways.
I have no idea.
How about my boy Lavon Hernandez, man?
Oh, man.
What a gamer.
Lavon.
I always liked him, man. He was a clutch pitcher back in the day, and when he lost velocity and got really heavy, he just figured out how to pitch with an 85-mile-an-hour fastball. And I'm thinking one of those years with the Nationals, I need to look it up, but I think he won a bunch of games one year, and he was just soft tossing it in there. I love guys like that can just kind of reinvent themselves, just keep pitching. So had to throw my boy Lavon in there.
Oh, man. So how's Alex Rodriguez and J-Lo doing, by the way?
Why'd you have to bring it up, DJ? Why?
Every episode from here on out.
I was so pumped. I watched the game on ESPN the other day, and it was Carl Ravitch and some girl. And whoever it was, better than A-Rod. I loved it.
We got a girl announcer, too, for the Cubs. And I don't know. I'm not even going to get into that. Whatever.
Hey, I listened to some Cubs radio the other day. It was pretty good.
Yeah, they got some. Oh, Pat Hughes is the man on the radio. He does TV on Sundays now. I love it, actually. It's great. They flip-flop, so big fan of that stuff. Pat Hughes is the man. Who was the first player to hit 40 home runs in a Nationals uniform after converting from the Expos to the Nats? So an actual Nationals player again. So let's not think Expos here. First player to hit 40 bombs in the Nats uniform. Was it Ryan Church, Willie Mo Pena, Alfonso Soriano, or Ryan Zimmerman?
I'm going to go with Alfonso Soriano.
Your boy Soriano, indeed. 40.
Hey, I've got a cool story about Soriano. You don't know if you remember this, but the first year we had fantasy baseball, Soriano was in his second year. I knew nothing about fantasy sports, but I was a big Soriano fan. I took him as my first pick, DJ, and everybody made so much fun of me, and I couldn't figure out why. But he came through for me, DJ.
Yeah.
He wore it out those first few years. He was a fun player to watch as long as you didn't watch him play defense. He was a good guy to watch play offense, but he definitely had some stone hands. But
yeah.
Anyway, that's the guy they traded for A-Rod, and I wish we could take that one back. It still bothers me. Not gonna lie.
I got a signed Alfonso Soriano Cubs photo over there on my wall.
Oh, nice. Did you meet him or what?
Yeah, I got to meet him at a Cubs convention and get an autograph from him. So
cool.
It was really cool. You know, his career with the Cubs was okay. You know, he ended up like Javi Baez. You can get him out by throwing that slider down and away. Sean Dunston, Alfonso Soriano, and Javi Baez, all the same hitters. So
Gleyber Torres as well.
Yeah. Oh man, he's a Cubs prospect, so that's why. So
you must train him to not hit sliders. So frustrating.
Awesome,
all right, DJ, we'll wrap it up. Another great episode. Please like our YouTube page, share this on Facebook, and we appreciate you watching. And we'll see you next time for the Oakland A's.
Have a good night.